I'm delighted to be here today. It's my second time speaking at B2B Paris, B2B Leaders Summit in Paris. It's always a great opportunity to come to Paris, even in the rain. And I didn't bring the rain this time because I came from Cannes today, and it was very sunny in Cannes. So lovely to see you all. I will try and do this in the time available, but I have a lot of slides and I get quite excited. So I apologize if I run over, but you have an excellent session with Lee afterwards, so I will not eat into his time. So I wanted to talk to you about waves of change in B2B marketing and where B2B marketing is at the moment. If I start talking too fast, tell me. Someone wave their hands and tell me I will slow down. I appreciate your your English is much better than my French. So B2B marketing is at a very interesting place right now. Real transformations happening, which is going to change everything that we do and how we operate. And I'm going to talk to you about the long-term trends, the short-term trends, and what this may mean for you. And I believe Lee is going to build on lots of that for his session later on. These insights are based on my observations as someone who has been writing about B2B marketing for 20 years. I have all the grey hair to show that I have been doing it for such a long time. And all the conversations that I have with chief marketing officers, with agencies, with tech vendors, and the community that we have in the UK, in Europe, and we would like increasingly to be in Paris and France and everywhere. Because it's a global community and a global industry. So, a little bit about us. B2B marketing, as Mohammed said, we launched a magazine 20 years ago. It was in a different era, a print era. We shut the magazine 2 years ago, and now the organization is based around events, but also, and we do 4 conferences in the UK every year, 1 conference in Chicago. We have a big awards program. We have a very big awards night that happens in November. We do podcasts, we do webinars, we do reports, we do training. But our COVID project was we shut the magazine and we launched a community called Propolis, which is a Greek word meaning first city. And this is a place we believe this is the future of B2B marketing. I know you have a community for B2B marketers in Paris. This is a digital community based around physical events as well, where B2B marketers can come to learn, to share, to grow. It's expert-led, and we call it community intelligence. So you can ask a question, and you get your peers and experts in the subject to answer it. It's a closed community. You have to pay money to be a member. But we are building skills, building connectivity, and driving the future of B2B. So we're very excited about it. And this is some of the organizations that are members of it currently. And if you'd be interested in joining, we'd love to talk to you about it. So I want to talk to you first of all about some of the big picture things that are happening in B2B marketing, some of the things that are driving long-term transformation. And one of the first things here is the change towards the buyer being in control, more and more in control of the discussion of the information flow. And this is obviously enabled by mobile, but it's also been enabled by other factors that are happening in marketing. Buyers want to own the discussion and to be in charge of the relationship rather than allowing it to be for the seller. And that is a big shift in how we're doing and what we're understanding. There is a suggestion, the long term is moving towards e-commerce in B2B, and you're seeing parts of that, but it's a slow process, and it will happen faster in some areas than others. And part of the reason for this is obviously because of the complications, the complexity of decision making and the buyer journey. This is a wonderful slide from Gartner, which shows the typical, not a real, but a typical example of a B2B buying journey, showing all of the many stakeholders that are involved in the process and all the feedback loops and all the different ways that it can happen and all the different types of content that are used to get there. So it illustrates the complexity of the environment in which we operate in. I love complexity. This is why B2B is exciting and special, but this is very complex. So this shows us what we're dealing with every day. And of course, a really big factor in all this has been COVID. COVID, as well as disrupting our lives personally, it enormously impacted on B2B marketing, mostly because the difference between B2B and B2C is about the sales alignment and the complexity of the sale. And what this meant in COVID was that the salespeople could not get in the same room as the buyers, and this meant they had to come to marketing to help them. So this accelerated change, this drove transformation, this encouraged us to adopt new technologies and new behaviors we hadn't done before, and we're still feeling the implications of this. Now, I was talking about this yesterday. I was in the Creativity Festival in Cannes with lots of B2B CMOs, and they were saying, we're still readjusting to, we went fully digital in COVID, and now we're going very physical. We haven't adjusted to the new world yet. And I think people don't know what the new is, but we're all finding it. But this allowed us to experiment and to understand new things, and we're still understanding the implications of those. So this is the world that is driving change from the buyer's point of view, and the behaviors that they want. The other thing which is driving change, and you have seen this slide many times, I believe, before. It's been slightly the formatting has changed slightly, but this is the Chief MarTech Officer landscape slide. I think it's impossible to have a B2B presentation without using this slide at least once. This has been going for 10 years, for 13 years, something like this. And this shows all of the vendors, all of the different technologies that exist in B2B marketing, and many of those you have upstairs in the exhibitor area. And this is exciting because it shows the amount of technology that's available for marketers to use. But it also shows that this is really hard for marketers to understand what they need. There is expression in English called the tyranny of choice. I don't know if this translates into French, but you have so much to choose from, you don't know where to go. And it's hard, it's difficult. So it causes much confusion. Also, the MarTech vendors are excellent at marketing. They are some of the best marketers and the best brands in the world. So this makes it even harder. And they're constantly telling us, we need to buy new, we need to buy more, we need to buy better. But actually, sometimes we just need to use what we've got better. So it's a very big challenge. This is pushing for evolution and transformation in B2B. And as I think we were going to understand today, we have just unleashed this new world of AI, and this map, every year people say, this cannot get bigger, this cannot get bigger. I think it's going to get a lot bigger very soon. There's loads of more solutions coming onto the market. So we have buy side pushing trends, and we have the supply side pushing transformation. These are long-term transformations, but these are very real in B2B. Here, we try to understand what our customers are thinking about in terms of their trends, and which trends they're looking at, and which trends they're finding important, and where they're going to focus their energy for next year. This is something we've done every year for 6 or 7 years. It's called the Trend Tracker, and we ask them, which of these trends are you going to focus on more than others? And you can see we asked two sides. We asked the client side over on the left and the agency side on the right. There's a very big B2B agency community in the UK, and they're a very significant part of the ecosystem. I think it's a slightly different ecosystem here, but Mohammed will tell me better about this. So we asked them each what areas they're going to focus on. And I appreciate there's a lot of things here, so I focus in on the top trends over here. And actually, it's interesting. The trends are, but you can have these slides afterwards, by the way. If you'd like to have these slides, we're happy to share them. And you can also download the full report from our website. But you can see the trends are quite similar. And it's very interesting this year. The same factors come up in roughly the same order, but there's a slightly different prioritization. Sales enablement was very, very clearly the top trend. And this is interesting because sales enablement has been something in B2B marketing for a long time. And it went from nowhere right to the top in 1 year. So why? Well, if you think about it, it's not surprising. We have a situation with economic difficulties. Decision-making is slowing down, budgets are being reduced, and decision-making is slowing. Pipeline is freezing, and sales teams are going, help, I need help. Marketing, what can you do to help me? So sales enablement is what they're looking for. And in some ways, this is wonderful because sales needs marketing, and sales cannot be arrogant and dismissive about marketing. But there's some problems as well. And we wanted to understand in our community what good sales enablement looked like. So one of the initiatives that we do in Propolis is we have something which is called a swarm. It's a little bit, if you work in agile technology, or if familiar with agile methodologies, it's a little bit like a sprint. So in the community, in a 2-week period, we ask a question, and the question we ask is, sales enablement, whose job is it anyway? And we run a series of initiatives and activities and content, and we asked everybody in the community to contribute in different ways to understanding the problem and looking at the situation that we're in. And lots of outputs, lots of interesting outputs that have come from this, which are still available in the platform. Lots of great interviews that are recorded with some thought leaders, including Pam Didner. I believe Pam Didner is involved at this conference as well. So she's excellent. So you must make sure you see Pam. I think what we realized is that sales enablement had been seen as a bottom of the funnel tactical activity where, which is more content and more driven by short-term need. Actually, this was really missing the point. The opportunity is much bigger for sales enablement. It actually should be proactive, marketing-owned, full funnel exercise. It delivers values to customers and aligns sales and marketing better than ever before. So we believe that so this is how we're trying to help marketers to navigate and understand and reinterpret some of the trends that they're seeing. So we believe there's a massive opportunity for sales enablement to be better. And actually, is it sales enablement? Is it buyer enablement? This is a term that's been used quite a lot. We think it's probably a bit more buyer enablement. And this is the workflow model that we produced for this, which again, happy to share with you if you'd like. This tries to explain what we think good looks like in terms of delivering great sales enablement and allowing your customers allowing your marketing sales teams to work better than ever. So if you remember back to the mind map we had earlier on, the other big trend that we saw was brand purpose. Does that work? This brand purpose is a term that translates into French. You understand when I say brand purpose? It's okay. It's good because it's not. I cannot be guaranteed that this is true. Brand purpose is something which even brand experts are cynical about. They think that they are not sure that it's a great idea. They think that, why do you need purpose? What's it all about? I hear a lot of people talking and saying very cynical things. But it's a recent report from in the US from ANA showed these are some of the top B2B brands that are very focused on purpose, have explicit purpose in mind. So you can see these are global brands. These are multi-billion-dollar organizations, and so these guys commit to it. Purpose is not just something for startups. It's not just something for small entities. So it's a very important global trend. But the other thing the report showed is that there is a very distinct difference in purpose between people who state they have a purpose and they say, yes, we believe in this, it's very important to us, we understand why it's good, but they don't actually act on it, they don't activate it. So you can see that 86% said they had a purpose, but only 24% said they acted on it. I think this is very important. If you're going to, I believe that in this day, in today, we don't buy from companies, we buy into companies. And I think that the generations coming through into the workplace now, moving from junior employees to senior employees, really embody this. They really want to believe in the organizations that they're working for and they're buying from, and we need to get on board with this. But if you say you have a purpose and you don't activate it, it's actually worse than not having one at all. So this is a very, very significant issue. So purpose is important, but it has to be done right. Now, when you were looking at this before, I appreciate the word, some of the type is not very visible, but you may see here that AI was very, very low down the list of priorities for people next year. And you may think now, given the excitement around AI, this is strange. Why is this happening? Well, this research was done at the beginning of the year in January, and ChatGPT was launched for the first time in February. And what we've seen since then was an absolute explosion in interest in generative AI, and it has completely changed the game. So, and I think, so I think we have to acknowledge that every research is only as good as the time when it was created. And I think if you did it now, this results would be very different. AI would be at the top. And I think what I wanted to show you is that we are, I really believe, back to the title of the presentation, we are at a time now of massive transformation in B2B. This is probably the biggest transformation ever in B2B marketing right now. And just if you are like me, you're a student of B2B marketing, there have been different waves of change that we've seen in 20 years. And apologies, this slide was supposed to be animated, but we lost a little bit of the format when, in translation. So in the beginning, and I say the beginning, which is when we launched in 2004, all you had was direct marketing, print advertising, exhibitions, and email. Really, that was it. Emails were brochureware, very, very static, very limited functionality, not very exciting things happening. 2003, 2007, you had a first wave of change. You had SEO, sorry, I'm talking better into the microphone now. SEO, content marketing explosion. And social media. All of these things were powering transformation in B2B marketing and opening up new frontiers. And then you had the second wave, marketing automation. When you had Eloqua, Marketo, all of these companies arrived, it was a huge transformation. Suddenly, marketing could be accountable. there were numbers you could link it to, and this drove enormous changes. It also happened at the same time as the credit crunch, so it was so it made marketing be much more accountable. Some people said maybe a bit too accountable, but you know. And then 2015, we had the rise of ABM, account-based marketing, predictive analytics, intent, the first wave of AI, machine learning than pure AI. So again, ABM, we thought it was a trend, it was going to go away. It's still here, it's very strong, it's becoming the mainstream. And it's very significant because people don't make decisions as an individual, as we showed earlier on. They make decisions as part of a very complex buying decision-making unit. And evidence is showing there's more and more people part of that unit. But where we are now, starting from 2001, we have the next wave of change. And I think this makes all the other changes, even though they were significant, they were profound at the time, they are going to be nothing as to what we're about to see, or what we're starting to see now. So we're going to live through this amazing change. And there's really two main aspects to this. The first one is generative AI, and the second one is Web 3.0. And I'm going to talk about Web 3.0 first of all. And these are the components of Web 3.0: blockchain, smart contacts, dApps, DeFi, DAOs, NFTs, and the metaverse. Now, I'm not going to claim to be an expert on all these things. I'm absolutely not that at all. But there are a couple of these, and most of them are very long-term transformations. But there's a couple of these that are particularly interesting, which is worth talking about. So I'm going to talk about those. And these are the bottom two. And the first one is NFTs. And are you familiar with Bored Ape Yacht Club? It's not something I was very familiar with, but this is probably as a great description from an analyst of NFTs saying, Bored Ape Yacht Club is everything that is best and everything that is worst about NFTs. It's still there, still valuable, an absolute phenomena in the world of consumer NFTs. We had a fantastic presentation talking about this at one of our events last year, the power of this, and it was in March 2022, everything was very exciting, going upwards. It seemed like there were kind of variations of this trend happening all over the place. You were seeing different types of NFTs coming out in consumers. Musical acts were starting to use this. Artists were starting to use it. Super exciting. And then this article, has been rather corrupted by translation, but this is from a newspaper in the UK, and it was the headline is, investors convert totally worthless NFTs into tax write-offs. Because basically the value of the NFTs has gone, it was sky high, it was a bubble, the bubble has burst, it's crashed right down again. You can see from this slide here, this is the level, the red line is the white is the value of the tray of the NFTs, and the red is the volume of sales. So going through to the beginning of this year. I think it's picked up a bit this year, but it shows that NFTs completely crashed. It was a massive bubble, loads of hype, loads of excitement, but it didn't go anywhere. And for me, someone interested in B2B marketing, how it's changing, it was hard to translate this consumer craziness into something that was relevant in B2B. However, just recently, a new contact of ours from Henkel, the German adhesives-based brand, or global adhesive-based brand based in Germany, told me about this campaign they've done, which they're entering the B2B awards, which used NFTs. And I haven't heard many examples, but this is one. And they were targeting, so Henkel is targeting Cisco for data centers, and they are looking to use their adhesives to stick the different components together in the data centers, and they get very hot or very cold. So the adhesives need to be very, very good to still continue to work in these extreme temperatures. They produced, so it's a very high-end sale, very long sale, and they produced a very high-end direct mail piece going out to certain members, certain key contacts, but they couldn't afford to do this for everybody. So they produced a run of, I think it was 150 NFTs they could send to other members of other potential targets that they couldn't afford to send everybody to. And of those about 150, they got 2 people downloaded the NFT and used it. And I said, oh, you must have been very disappointed. And he said, no, it's brilliant. It's amazing. I got 2 people doing it. Because actually, Ryan Allman was in Cannes this week as well, so I spoke to him more about this. And he was saying, it's fantastic because actually the barriers to doing this, to downloading the NFT, were very, very high. They had to go through they had to download different pieces of technology and install it. And I'm not an expert in this, but it was not an easy thing to do. So they got 2 people that do that, and they became very, very good prospects. So super exciting, even though the technology is very mature. So there are examples out there. they're just very early right now, and I think we're going to see more of them. And if you have an example, if you've used it, if you trialed it, if it's been successful or if it's failed, I'd love for you to tell me about it, please, because this is exciting, these new technologies. The other area of Web 3.0 which we talk about is the metaverse. And I think we've all know that Meta, or Facebook, as we maybe still call them, have been invested billions of dollars in the metaverse. And as we probably also know, it hasn't been very successful. They've lost a lot of money on this, and it's been very hard for them. But I don't think anyone is very upset for Facebook if they've lost billions of dollars. Personally, I'm not very upset for them. It's worth saying, but they have really tried hard, and it hasn't managed to meet expectations. And if you're as old as I am, and you were, again, a student of B2B marketing, you may remember Second Life. Does anybody remember Second Life? Can you put your hand up, remember Second Life? And it was starting to feel a little bit like Second Life all over again. Here we go, all this great new world we're all going to inhabit. It's going to be wonderful. And so maybe the metaverse was going to go all the way down to being just like NFTs, just an explosion of nothing. But I think what we have to acknowledge is that this year, Apple brought out its headset, its Vision Pro headset. And I think the thing with Apple that we can all guarantee, whether we like them or loathe them, they have the ability, like nobody else, to transform a market. They have the ability to deploy technology like they did with the iPhone, like they did with the AirPods, like they did with the watch, to be leaders and to make something which, smart, because touch screens existed before the iPad, they existed before the iPhone, and now look at them, they're everywhere. So when Apple gets behind something, it can drive genuine change. So I think that perhaps we're at the beginning of the cycle with the metaverse, because it requires the technology to be accessible and every day and normal, and Apple has got the ability to normalize that. So this is maybe the beginning now rather than the end. And I think, but the best way of understanding this, and I saw this, and I defer to a gentleman called Tom Head, who spoke at a conference we had recently, is to look at this. I thought about embedding this as video. There's a video clip on YouTube which you can find, which is Bill Gates David Letterman, who's a celebrated US talk show host. I think he's been on off air for a long time now, but he was very well known in the time, interviewing Bill Gates of Microsoft in 1995. And Bill Gates and Letterman says, "So tell me about this internet thing. What is this internet?" And Bill Gates says, "Well, it's great. You can watch a baseball game, listen to it live." And Letterman says, "Yeah, but haven't you heard about the radio?" And Gates says, yeah, but no, you don't understand. You can listen to it later. And Letterman says, "But haven't you heard of tape recorders?" Letterman is being really, he's joking. He's making fun with Bill Gates in a nice way. But actually, I think the parallel here is extremely sincere, because today with Web 3.0, this is 1995. We only starting to begin to understand the potential of these technologies and what they can do. They're very clunky, they're very basic, they require development, and the example of Apple moving into the headset market and the example of something that's happened here. But NFTs require the sophistication to make them accessible and usable, and they require us to change our habits and understand them. So this is going to come, it's just not going to come just yet. It's not going to take 30 years, but it's going to come, but it's not here right immediately, but it's going to create a really profound shift. And these other technologies, blockchain, which figure as part of it, and don't get me into that one because I'm not an expert, we're going to be part of it as well. So that's Web 3.0. AI is something which is very much part of this new wave, which is here now. And you may recognize this image, which is from 2001, the film from Stanley Kubrick, where the computer on board the ship kills all the people. So that's a really positive way to start talking about AI. But it's a very good film. If you haven't seen it, it's fantastic. AI has been with us in marketing for a while now. And as a commentator in B2B, I was a little bit bored of hearing about it, because all of the tech vendors are saying, yes, we have AI. It's built into our system and it does something. What it was doing is people like Demandbase and Sixth Sense, who are great vendors and have a great solution, and they built in AI to part of their solution, which make it more effective and do its job better. So it's great, but it wasn't really changing the world very fast. And you also had things like chatbots, which existed. This is quite a boring slide, but it's the winning entry from Tata Communications in the sales enablement category in the B2B Marketing Awards. This is the most boring slide of Brazil presentation that we have in the entire thing, but in the entire awards. But it does show that this won because of its use of a chatbot to enable and accelerate the sales process. And chatbots have been are really pernicious in B2B marketing now and B2B websites. So it's very significant. But what we have now is this explosion as discussed now, we have the launch of ChatGTP this year, which has seen an explosion in different applications, and I think Lee's going to talk about this a little bit later on, and it's changing things extraordinarily fast. And if you look at this slide, we'll show you how fast it's changing. This shows the time taken for various technologies to reach 1 million users in terms of number of days. Netflix at the bottom was 1,200 days, so that's what what's the maths on that? About 4 years, something like that. But then ChatGTP, what about 3 days, something like this. So the speed of adoption of ChatGPT has been extraordinary, and this is just one example of generative AI solutions. And what you're seeing now is that this is a picture. This is from Adobe Summit. This is my photo. I asked Adobe Summit to send me some better photos. They didn't think it was important enough, so I apologize. This is not the best photo I could show you. But this is their event in London recently, and there was thousands of people there, and the whole keynote, hour-and-a-half keynote, was about the use of AI in their new Firefly application, and they were making a very, very big bet on AI as being the future of what they do. They had a demonstration that was live. I'm not so sure it was very live. It was very stage managed, but it does demonstrate what the technology can do. So it's very, very exciting. And I think this demonstrates that the big vendors are really going to push into this. We're going to see so much more of this happening. But at the same time, you're going to see smaller vendors, pop-ups emerging with new technologies and new ways of deploying ChatGTP in to create new solutions. And it's the start of a tidal wave of new things and new ways of increasing productivity. So what does this mean, really? Well, I think the key thing here is that it's actually changed everything. It's opened up completely unforeseen possibilities, and these are good and bad. We have to accept these are good and bad. People's roles are going to get challenged, and we have a great session again from Chris Penn at our Ignite event recently. He was showing that tasks will change. Tasks will be automated, and that will mean that jobs may be reassigned. And marketers need to understand the opportunities that exist with that. It's beholden on marketers to understand what it means for their particular jobs. It's also insignificant for the B2B marketing leaders to understand what this means for their teams. So, because different aspects of their teams will be affected. And I think, and it's very interesting talking to CMOs. I was in an event in London recently where you had, I've been told I need to be quiet now, but I can only just see you, so apologies. We see that people are embracing it at different levels. So it's very important that leaders still understand this. It's also worth remembering that two other things are important here. The C-suite believe that anybody can do marketing. They've always thought that marketing is easy and anyone could do it. Now ChatGPT says, of course everyone could do marketing. I can just go and write some copy right now. I don't need a marketing team. So it's increasing cynicism from the CEO. And the result is this, that marketers need to be creative and innovative as never before. Everything is changing. We need to challenge what we do every day. So very quick points to leave you with. You need to be curious. We've always need to be curious in B2B. So explore new things, embrace new thinking. You need to innovate like crazy and be ready to fail. And we need to not accept the status quo. But to do this, you need to be passionate. And it's a great industry to be passionate about. It's a fantastic profession. And I'm so glad that you've come here today. You've demonstrated that you're curious and willing to learn. So thank you for your time. I'm sorry to have run over. I just couldn't see you at the back there. So thank you very much.